So this next one is. So that's how I think. This is the first. This is the second. And then there's some other ones inside of the minor pentatonic, but then you get major pentatonic. And what gravity is major pentatonic, which is the same thing as. But you know, they have a different sound because they're different strings, and it's a physics thing. You're in a different part of the string. So it's. So that's the major version of that. Now the major version of that, you got this. And what's interesting is that B.B. King played a lot in the major pentatonic. And when you think of blues playing, you mostly think of the minor pentatonic. So what's very interesting is you would get these sort of dominant seventh chords, you know, and B.B. King would go. Which, remember, is still major. And that's only when you move to minor. So that's that. So everything is understanding roots. This is the G, that's a 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 G. This is a G. And that's really, it's mapping. It's like mapping and knowing where to go. Emoji of a wave. I wrote that in the bathroom. I write a lot of my music in bathrooms. And I'll be honest about why. The first, thank you, Fred. It's a good sounding, acoustically good sounding guitar. The first reason I play in the bathroom is because acoustically it's good, and it's usually far away enough from the hallway that I'm not self-conscious about people hearing it. I'm not so much concerned with people disturbing them. I'm concerned with being heard, I guess, although I do try to keep quiet. But the second reason is because I think I like to look at myself in the mirror. And you might think to yourself, well, that's narcissistic, but hold on. I think it's part of the make-believe that you would sit in front of a mirror and you would watch yourself and you would externalize from yourself for a minute and pretend you're watching yourself in a movie or a music video or you're saying you do it too? Yeah, let's be honest, man. Like, you're playing make-believe. You're looking in a mirror and you're playing to yourself and you're imagining maybe that's a video. You have to step outside yourself and play make-believe. It's not narcissistic, it's self-centered. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm hugely self-centered. All artists are self-centered. Narcissistic, I am not. But wrapped up in myself? Yes. It's just the way it is. I'm not wearing a Snuggie. I'm wearing a sweatshirt. So emoji of a wave is just, I should move this a little bit, is just a B. Well, it's not just, right? Because then E, but E sus, F sharp. And it's really about this, it's a picking thing. Notice A. But I do these things, so if this is your A, it just always made sense to me as a kid, like, if this is your A and you got extra fingers. I also figured out, this is interesting, this is totally true, what I'm about to tell you. I found a chord on the guitar that rattles all guitars. Whatever's happening on it frequency-wise, it makes the whole guitar just go, and it's this chord. you get this chord, which is interesting. And it's pure F sharp minor, add 9. E minor, and then I kind of 2-5-1 it. Well, it's 2 minor 5, right? How do I find these chords? Well, for me, it's always Ouija playing. I call it Ouija guitar playing. And if I hear something I like, I very quickly make a note as to how I got there, what's the root of it, basically I want to find my way back. And so you start to learn kind of instinctively, if you move something down a little bit, you'll get a different color. So you just sort of work on the fly, but then I remember as I go. So that's just a B, straight up bar chord B. But now you use E, or really F sharp. That's that. My favorite chord of all time is probably like what do they call it? Like a E11 or something. I just like that one. Standard tuning. I hardly ever do. Alternate tuning. Hummingbird. I really don't remember it. Oh yeah. I don't remember. I don't really know my scales. I don't tune down anymore. I used to when I was a kid. Before I started playing in bands, I was like 11 gauge, 12 gauge strings. What's the 6/9? Oh, right, the 6. Yeah, that's what that is. I used to have like 11 or 12 gauge strings, and then I would tune down a half step. I have like 2 Les Pauls, maybe 3, but I never was a Gibson guy. I think you're one or the other. Okay, Rosie. So Rosie's really about taking 2 different guitar parts and making them one part, right? So if you'll notice, Rosie's very similar to New Deep, right? And New Deep was a song that I always felt like I came close to and wasn't super happy with it. But it's this thing, right? So here's what's interesting about it. So what you got to understand, I was just talking to Tomo Fujita about this, my Berkeley instructor. Here's what's interesting about it. So these fingers are just as important as these fingers when you're playing, because they stop the note. This is me without picking. You hear it doesn't sound like anything? So you have to break the song, almost like putting the brakes on a car. That's how I got my thing, you know. So then the first part is, and on top of that is like, right? So it's really, No, that's not it. Hold on a second. Yeah, it is, sort of. I thought that was... Oh, wait. You're right. I mean, I'm right. I mean, I'm wrong. The next chord... So it is that. It's C to D. But see, the next part in the verses is actually... It's over a G. That's what makes it interesting. Right? Right? Oh, no. Right? I forgot how I played it. So that's what it is. It's like a D, but then a C over a D. That's what it is. So C over D is... Yeah. So then that's that. Not that different than gravity. That's the G. Dead the door for me. I'm drunk again. Remember when we used to be. And then you get, we're going to pedal the D. Right? So it's like going, which is really C, D, G. So it's really up. But it's more efficient even. But pedal D. So really, it's as much when you press with the left hand or let go with the left hand. So you got all these variables, right? You've got how hard you hit. You've got how hard you hold the string. You've got how big your fingers are, and you've got your vibrato. But you've also got the timing of when you do this and when you hit down. You've got the timing of when you do this, hit down, and when you let go. You've got hundreds of other variables that are inside a guitar playing. Could I play with a 6 to 9 double major G stop triple minor flat? Yes, I believe it's this. But yeah, I mean, I started with the pentatonic scale and just kept building additions. Hold on a minute. I've been waiting to do that joke since I started at Fiji water. Here's my pick. It's a blue chip. I cannot endorse it because it's too expensive. I can't have people thinking that they need to have a pick like this because it costs a lot of money. But I happen to get something out of it. So, yeah. I'm going to Find Another You is a very classic. This is just straight major, A major, and then you switch. You like the flavor of going from an A major chord to an A dominant seventh chord. Now, there's a way that I play a 4 chord. It's usually when I play a 4 chord that starts on the A string. I invert it. I move the bass up to a third. So imagine this chord, but sort of in the upside down world. So you get, that's always felt kind of plain, but if you invert it so you're playing the third, That's the first now. Same note, right? So instead of you got da da da, and that's a lot of the Hendrix. And that takes you right into the major blues pentatonic scale. So look how close these things are together. This is D, and this is already D pentatonic. So D, so you're not that, things are really closely knit. The neighborhoods are really closely knit together. So this is a D, right? Remember, this part stays exactly the same. Whether you're doing this or this, I'm still barring that. You can get so much more articulation as opposed to, you can't really move. If you think about it, all your fingers are sort of beyond this bar. If you move it like this, that's the Hendrix, you know. So it all, you know, Charles Manson did die. And I want to talk about this for a minute. I am not going to admonish anybody. It's not a rant. It's an observation. Charles Manson is a murderer, was a murderer. Now, I understand there's all sorts of intrigue and a lot of cultural sort of, cultural vestiges of a bygone era that still were associated with Charles Manson and vice versa. But it proves my point when I see people sort of quasi-ironically, sort of holding him up in kind of sort of a cool, playful way. It supports my theory that if somebody dies, if there's a murder outside of your lifespan or outside of a generation, right, generations ago, the murder stops being felt on a visceral level by human beings as something they should be scared of or something that's horrible, and it starts to become sort of story-like. It becomes sort of novel-esque, you know. So let me give you an example. If you read tomorrow that somebody in New York City is beheading people, that there's been 14 beheadings in New York City, you would be fucking mortified. You would say, what is this world coming to? You would live in fear. You would call your friends in New York City and you would say, don't go outside. There is a murderer and he or she, it's probably he, is beheading people. However, if you found out that there was a movie about this person in New York City in the late 1800s who beheaded people, you'd be like, that sounds like fun to watch. That sounds pretty fucking fascinating. Okay, Los Angeles. There's murders that happening by the LA River. If it was this year, you would go, this is disgusting. This man's an animal. We have to find who it is. But if it was a movie about 1929, you see, and there's a coroner, or there's the newspaper reporter with the flash that goes off and the bulb breaks, and it would be the sort of cinema noir kind of a thing. The 19th murder by the Los Angeles River. You'd be like, this is a fucking artful movie. So it proves to me that we can only really viscerally understand death if it's within our lifespan, you know, or if it's within our cultural generation's lifespan. Because I think that shit's gross, right? Like, the guy's a murderer, but I think to some people who wouldn't, I think if you didn't know who Charles Manson was, if you were 18 years old and you're reading about Charles Manson being dead, I think you might think he was in a band. If you didn't know who Charles Manson was and you looked at all of the press about him right now, and you're 18 years old and you're not expected to know anything else about it, you would think he was in a band. You would think he was the lead singer of a rock band. So that's the thing. The human spirit can only appreciate death if it is in the same. This is water. This is Fiji water. You guys love trying to come up with reasons that my thoughts might be due to something else other than my brain. Oh, look at this. Literally thought he was in a band. I think that the story is so wrapped up in nostalgia that you can... It's nobody's fault for forgetting it because it's been so wrapped up in nostalgia. But I think it's really fascinating how death has a statute of limitations on being scary and being deathly, you know. I bet I can say rest in peace, Malcolm Young. What are you talking about? Broken Time, I don't remember how it goes. I've never taken LSD. You don't need to either. Yeah, thank you. That's right. People say, like, there's a special place in hell for people like Charles Manson or people who do heinous acts. And I have a problem with that because I don't think these people should be going to a special place in hell. I mean, if there's a special place in hell, it should be for people who haven't done that wrong. Be like, you get to go to a special place. Why do people get to go to a special place? Because you know they love the attention of being in the special place. And then all the people, the worst people who ever lived, they all walk into hell's cafeteria at the same time, and everyone's like, there's the special. Those are the special crew. And I don't have time for that. I think they should be in the world's most basic part of hell. The special part of hell is for people... I don't even know, and I'm not going to say that tonight is the night that we figure out what is the line of demarcation for someone who goes to hell. What's up? What's up, Greg? But what would be the line of demarcation in a crime or crimes that would have someone go to hell, but in a special place, like low security hell? Yeah. We did. Crystalia and I invented the microwave. So, anyway, that was a fun tangent. These are things I think I have a lot of thoughts. And if you think about it, there's no way for me to share my thoughts anymore unless it's with you guys on social media because the whole system of doing interviews has collapsed because nobody wants to entrust their words to somebody who is going to be compelled to try to put them in as shocking or salacious a form as possible. So we don't do it, and we don't have to do it, except the collateral damage there is that we don't get to express these thoughts. And so I'm trying to be more expressive in my life because I feel like I do have thoughts that are worth sharing. I just don't see the point in handing them to someone else to entrust them with getting my message across correctly. Just do it straight away, but then there are fewer opportunities to do so. I like Alan too. I love Alan. Please sing. I sang all night. My voice is sleepy, but my hands are still going. Thank you, Keone. Oh, I've seen you before. I've seen you on my Instagram before. The thing about a podcast, though, is that it's just a lot of rope to get hung with, you know. I think if anybody talks for long periods of time and they pride themselves on being interesting, I don't have it in me to hit the bumpers. I just don't. So I don't really play like certain things on the guitar when I sit down. I just pick it up and start playing, which is weird because I've said this before. When people, if I'm at NAMM or something or music store or somewhere and I pick up a guitar, people are like, "What's he gonna play?" I go, this could be horrible. I've committed myself to play whatever junk comes to mind. Like, I'll just sit here just for the feel of it. I think I'm into the shapes. I don't really know what I'm doing. I just happen to know. That's nothing. Favorite Netflix show? I don't have one at the moment. This is a guitar scale exercise that I wrote years ago, maybe like 10 years ago. Ah, mess up. What did you do with pentatonic? So after that, well, so you learn how they all link up. G, G. Even if you just want to look at it like play the Voodoo Child thing, right? So Voodoo Child is E. That's the same way. So you just whatever key you're in. If you're in E, there's a. The first thing you can do is, which is like this open. Now I don't always love that sound. Stevie Ray Vaughan did it brilliantly. I don't necessarily. I think what I don't like about playing in open E, minor pentatonic, is that you can't do anything with the nut. You can't bend, right? So every pull-off is straight. It just sort of started to disinterest me. My ear just got tired of it. It's not that it's a bad thing, it's my ear got tired of it. Because I like to bend where this nut is, and I can't do that, right? So what you want to do is stop looking at, the boxiness of the pentatonic. Don't look at it like this is the floor. Most people they'll bend here, but they won't bend here. So you get this really sort of flat sounding thing on. That's where you get this stuff. Right, that's just like my ears heard 27 years of it. So, but there's these things you can do where you usually bar. So, hear that? It's a much more vocal thing instead of you go. It's these little. It's the things actually that auto-tune is taken away from singing that you can do on the guitar. It's microtonal. It's really. Hear that? So you're getting actually purposefully pitchy. It's not a chord, it's not a half step. It's just this little tiny. You can also go. So by going one fret lower and bending up, you could actually probably pre-bend it. Well, I wouldn't want to. Well, you can do that. Yeah, I don't know if you'd want to, but like one of the best singer-guitar player combinations is Jimmy Vaughan. Jimmy's such a sophisticated genius. You really have to devote yourself to what he's doing to realize that he's a total genius. And he sings purposefully the slightest amount sharp, and it will just grab you. And he does the same thing with the guitar. So he'll go like, well, or like, well, I can't do it. It's too quiet. Well, there it is. Well, it's not well. It's well. Well, it's not that either. It's not da 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 da. It's in between. Well, da da da. You even got the perfect circumstance. Well, da 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 da. Do you hear how it's not da 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 da. It's and you can do the same thing. There it is. See, that's not. Right? Even that's a little too extreme. So that's the whole bending thing that I'm trying to get to. Where you get super vocal, you know. It's like I respect and love slide guitar players. It's just so far away from my wheelhouse, but I'm trying to get that same micro intonation, you know. Oh. That's a great BB lick, man. It's another kind of index finger bend. You know, most people are going, but and then they get this bend over a 4 chord. Tomo, check this out. Over a 4, you bend that. That's it. That's why I sit and practice over and over again until it's super hot, melted ability to just take the strings and just, it's almost like taking a spoon at the diner and making it bend, you know. You're there's only a straight line. A guitar string is a straight line, and when you bend it, you're still got 2 straight lines. Like, you're not bending the string itself, you're moving the string. So instead of, you're not really creating a curve, you're creating a triangle, right? So you have to really practice making these straight lines feel like curved lines, because it's not a slide guitar. Slide guitar is theoretically just like millions of different intonations up and down. And so what you're trying to do is bend, and it's a little like surfing, you know. You go up, or it's like skating a half pipe, you know. It's very elegant. There's a elegant thing to it. Yeah, the BB thing I spent a lot of time on, and if you watch him, he's not anchored by his thumb, and he's got that speed. That's too much. And then I just leave the timing because I get so excited. But you should do it in time if you're playing. Anyway, I'll show you one more thing if you're interested. I got into playing jazz. Not super. Yo, World Star, what's up? World Star, I want to talk to you. World Star, you're at a very interesting impasse in your brand career. Here's the only problem that I have with you, with your product, is that I'm starting to realize that when I'm on social media, we're no longer constrained to like hanging out with people who are like us, and that's good. It's good to be around other points of view. What I'm noticing is a hang-up for me is that I'm around so much of a younger point of view. So your demographic is so broad that I realize that I'm plugging into a culture of youth that doesn't apply to me, and it's not fashion, it's not music, it's this culture of like motivational advice. It makes me feel like I shouldn't be looking at it, like I'm too old. Like personally, I don't need to. I'm not worried about who my real friends are, and I find that when I'm well, don't say fuck World Star. Let's be a little more nuanced about this, because I'm not telling him or her why I don't want to follow World Star anymore. I do want to follow World Star, but it's a very interesting thing where, like, there are certain things over social media that I feel like we're all exposed to that normally without social media we wouldn't be exposed to it, right? Again, also a good thing, but I don't need to worry about who my real friends are, or about how I got to grind at my job, or like how I have to follow my heart. And I also like don't need to see set up staged video. Like if I see one more person walk into a convenience store all chesty like they're about to like knock something over, but you know that the guy behind the counter is in on it, like I have nothing against it, except I don't need it in my diet. But I like a lot of other things that are in the World Star diet. But I'm starting to realize that as a 40-year-old, I don't need to get into the psychology of psychology. Absolutely, respect back. And I'm not even saying that there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying this is the challenge that as anybody develops their brand, looks at and goes, well, how do we get around that? How do we figure that out? And like, okay, I don't have to worry about exams ever again in my life. I'm a 40-year-old man, and I look at memes and photos and videos about people taking exams. I don't have to take exams anymore, and I don't think I should be looking at it. In a way, I feel like I'm voyeuristically looking at something I have no business in. And that's the challenge. It's not something wrong with World Star, but that's the challenge. You know what I'm saying? How do we get over like internet infantilism? That's my question. You know, because it is funny. Like I think it's funny when a dog has a funny look on it, and it says like when your mom finds out that your friend da da da, and I go, I feel like I'm hanging out and like peeking into a stranger's bedroom. You know, like as they talk about homeroom, it just feels weird for me. However, keep those street fights coming. Keep those street fights coming. I tend to watch the most aggressive shit before I go to bed. I don't know why. That should be time where I don't watch that and I like watch soothing things. But let me tell you something. Convenience store fights, parking lot fights, like crazy wait for it's, I'm in. Like maybe this is my CSI. Like a lot of people, this is my 48 hours. This is my crime scene investigation procedural stuff. Is it before I go to bed? I like to watch road rage. I don't know why. It can't be good for me, but yet here we are, and I'm totally caught up on every, like to the last hour. If somebody told a cop to go fuck off and it's any longer than an hour ago, I've seen it. See, I didn't know what that was. What was that? I don't know, it's gone. All right, anything else before I take off? Thank you, Isabella. I enjoy Twitter, too. It's a little bit of a masochistic endeavor for me. My points of view are not always appreciated, let alone universally appreciated. Not even a point of view, but the way I think. Although for years now, when you grow up your entire life with people saying, like, where did you find this guy? I'm immune to it. I'm immune to it. Here's what I don't understand. If you don't like a tweet, or if you don't get it, if it's not for you, why do you still interact with it? It's amazing. That's what I don't understand about Twitter. If it's someone, people imagine, like, well, I have to write. You've posted something. I'm writing because you've posted. I don't have anything to say. I'm just going to, like, in a very non-committal way, sort of rib you and say, go to sleep, but I have nothing to add. I go, I want to live in the world you guys want to live in. But I think it's strange. I think a reasonable thought should precede posting something. But you guys should enjoy it the way you want to enjoy it. I just don't understand anymore the idea of, like, well, I've got to say something. Scroll on by, I do. I don't look at the first 20 comments. The first 20 comments are never about the thing. And also, if I tweet something and then I delete it because of a spelling error and it's only been 20 seconds, do you think that it's going to crush me that you show me a screenshot of the tweet that I posted that was misspelled with something snide like, good thing I saved it. We saw that. I go, okay. What's the point? You can't blackmail me with this. It was around. Yeah, we can talk, Dad. Stop this train. It's a D without the top. It's a D without a hat. And it's just... And then it's... This one is just purely like what I can do anatomically. There's also this thing which I do, which is like raking. You do that, Tomo? Yeah. I'm trying not to do that again on the guitar ever. I did it like the... Thank you, Tomo. I did it on so many records and played so many nights where I was keeping time like that, and I just don't like putting on records anymore. Like, I did it so much, and I can actually, like, I won't go so far as to say like I ever sit in the car and listen to the radio and go like, oh, they ripped me off. But there are times I go like, that's a me thing, when I hear like a that thing. Edge of Desire. That's another guitar exercise I was doing. So this is the young and full of a running. Tell me where's that taking me? Just a great figure eight, a tiny infinity. It's weird. Just a great figure eight, a tiny infinity. Yeah, right? Tom will make the kids stop with the finger noise. You can use it as some sort of effect somewhere in a song, but as a tick, just get the tick out of there. Yeah, right? Also that chord, which is like a major 7 or 6. That's a good question. I've never gone online to see my tabs. I can't imagine they're all that right, but just remember everything. Here's a great thing, and I'm going to leave you with this because Tomo, I agree. I think it's the one thing I will say I think does come from me. So I apologize to you. I'll give myself $50 if I can remember what this point was going to be. It's gone. It's gone. Was I talking about that? Oh, I was about to go somewhere else. Anyway, I'm sleepy. Oh, about the tabs, right. So keep this in mind when you're looking at tabs. A lot of tabs are wrong. No guitar player would do things that are ergonomically more difficult than an easier, closer knit. You need to remember is if something feels bad on the guitar, it's probably wrong. That it's been tabbed out the wrong way. Guitar players do things that are very closely knit. So a lot of times they'll have you really moving around a lot, and if that starts happening, you go, I think this tab is wrong, because guitar players are rather localized, you know. It's not like, you know, I did it wrong, but it's hard to make an example of a bad thing that doesn't exist. Yet here we are. I also think you should play in time. Play with a metronome. I promise you. Play with a metronome. This is all I do when I play guitar, by the way, when I sit home. I dick around. I'm not... I think if you can get over the feeling you have to entertain everybody all the time on the guitar, you can find new things. I just like the way it feels, man. 27 years, and I still just like the way it feels. Hardest solo I've ever tried learning? That was people cheer because it's like an acrobatics thing, man. And every night that we have Help Slip on the set list, it's like it's a different night when that's there, because you should put on an Evel Knievel helmet, you know, because it's fascinating. Whenever I get there, I'm like, yeah. But I think that was always the way that it was. Favorite kind of bean? Baked. And it's not a in joke. Thank you, Purple Ixons. I'm down to 10% battery, which I hope is actually 20% battery, but Apple's been looking out for me all this time. And you ever think there's like iPhone battery reserve, that the iPhone's like, tell them it's 10, there's an extra 5. Anyway, this was really fun. I will talk to you all again soon. And Terrapin Station is really, it's right here. It's really about this gentle, it's really beautiful. Do I have an iPhone C? That's a funny joke now. All right. You guys are awesome. I'm going to bed. I'm not going to sleep. I'm just going to bed. That's where it's kind of the office for me. And I'll talk to you guys later. This is always the fun part where you hit end and you're like, and goodbye. But that only brings up a menu. They should really end when it ends. But